Thank you, listeners, for joining us today for week 8, Stepping into Your Power.
How awesome is this topic today?
So awesome. That's why we're here.
So, the topic of stepping into your power, I think it's a really evident for everybody right now. I'm hearing a lot of people struggling around this particular area of owning their power and stepping into their power because of a lot of things I think comes around the fear of judgment or the fear of not people pleasing or fear of not fitting in when people step into their power. And so it's a great subject to be able to bring to people's awareness around where it is that they may be giving away their power or where they may be needing to step into their power. And so, Amanda, what's your thoughts around stepping into your power?
I believe like we can be confident, right? We can show up as being confident, but does that confidence still come across in when we're people pleasing, when we're, giving that, oh, what are people going to think of me, that judgment? So I guess that's the disconnect is like, yeah, you can show up as being confident, but are you really when you get that chance to step into your power? Like, as in, like, no, this is what I will accept, and this is what I won't accept, and this is what I believe.
Mm. Yeah, I think you're right around the particular area of stepping into your power. It's really number one, it's really knowing your values. And number two, staying congruent. So I staying congruent to those. But I think that a lot of things that a lot of people don't realize is what they think are their values can also be sabotaging values. They're not
Mm.
necessarily their true core values. And the other thing that I find through this whole place is around having that clarity is really, really important for you to step into your power. When you have clarity of who you are, what you stand for, it makes a massive difference in, like you were saying before, the confidence. It comes from an authentic place, that confidence. You're not able to be wavered in any
Yeah.
shape or form. It's like, okay, this is what it is. This is who I am. Great. If you like it, great. If you don't, it's okay as well. At the end of the day, what you're doing is you're moving forward into where it is that you're wanting to go in a more courageous state.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really big topic to delve into, stepping into your power. So when do you think a lot of people hold back stepping into their power?
Mm. Hmm. When it gets too difficult. So maybe the point where you have a value or you know that this is what you should be doing, but to actually get there means it has to be uncomfortable. So it's easier to be comfortable and not be brave or take
Mm.
that step outside of that comfort and just let it go. But then on the other hand, it's like that balance of, well, is that actually right for me? Does that feel good for me?
Mm.
So it creates that conflict of, there's this issue here, but I'll just let it go. And it's not stepping into your power because you're not standing up for what you believe or what you think is fair and just.
Yeah, it's I always believe if you give yourself an excuse, you'll give somebody else an excuse.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
which means that no one really owns their power. They're just enabling each other in their own stuff, like,
Yeah, or sidestepping around, one situation here, but then you sidestep it to get to a different situation just to avoid that situation. But
yeah.
it's always going to come back around. If we don't learn to do these things, if we don't learn to be like that brave, own it, no, this is it. This is like I don't accept anything else.
Mm.
We're not going to change, and it's just going to keep getting louder and louder. That time it comes back around to us to wake us up until
Yeah.
we actually get that lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the other thing that I think a lot of people struggle with stepping into their power is because they're probably attached to an old identity. It's something that we are just talking about before we got on here. Is getting attached to an old identity doesn't necessarily mean you were in your power in that old identity, but because you may have been externally validated or you may have been given some kind of significance, or some kind of
Justification.
acknowledgement. What's that?
Justification.
Justification or acknowledgement of your role or who you were as that person in that particular area of your life. A lot of people, when it's like stepping into their power, it's really about stepping into their own truth. And when you step into your own truth, it's letting go of judgments, expectations. It's letting go of all the conditioning. It's letting go of all of that to be able to step into your own light, knowing with or without anybody, this is who you are. This is, you just got to be comfortable with that. And I think that's a really, it's been a journey, I know, for myself to go through to step into my own power, because beforehand I used to use other people as the excuse of not being able to be who I was, when really it was just about me claiming that. I think a great movie around that particular area was Coach Carter.
Oh.
You haven't seen that one?
No comment.
Maybe you should watch that one.
Back to
you. Coach Carter, there was actually it's a great film to be able to talk about that, where people are actually more afraid, are more comfortable with their darkness and more afraid of their own light, and hence why they don't step into their power. And I think it was also a poem written by Maya Angelou as well that actually speaks about that particular thing. So I can't remember the words. I'm not going to say exactly what the words are, but I remember it's definitely around that particular area about people being in fear of their own light. That's what they're more scared of. So, I think that when it comes to stepping into your power, it's actually being open to be in your full, authentic self, in your authentic power, which is basically being in alignment with yourself physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
Yeah. And I think that's also in society, that's where that judgment comes from. Because if people just say we're all on this level where we're in the darkness, or most, like most of our who we are is in darkness. It's not until we start seeing the light and stepping into that power, there's a lot of judgment in between here and here.
Absolutely.
Because it's easier to judge someone than it is to step it up for ourselves, take that responsibility. So coming back to owning it again, that's when people want to talk about you, and because you're actually standing out, because you actually don't care what people think. It's like
it's actually really funny you should say that, because you just made me realize something. You did ask me, what happened over the weekend, and I actually had a few trolls over the weekend that on an ad I put out, and beforehand, it's exactly that. My complexes would have got in the way of me standing out. And I actually had a friend contact me, and she actually said to me, well, you must be doing something for people to be wanting to pull you down, or wanting to, you're standing out, obviously, in your own truth, in your own light. And like for me, I had a little bit of a giggle to myself, because like some of the things that they were saying, I was like, really? Like it makes me wonder, like, what happens in someone's mind for them to come up with some kind of idea about you, when and it comes down to that whole place of their own darkness. So they project it, like, so if you don't step into your light in fear of somebody else's story, or somebody else's projection, or somebody else's, complexes, then how will anyone be able to see or do anything differently, or give themselves permission to do the same, if you bow down to that?
Exactly. It's like getting caught up in that rat race. You're going to stay there. The only way you're going to get out of that is by being different or making a change. And usually making a change is stepping into your power, stepping into your light.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can feel there's something better, or there's a bigger picture, or there's something more in the world. It's when you make the decision to go, yeah, that doesn't serve me. That's the cool process, is that you're learning, you're growing, and in that learning and growing, you actually start thinking and not caring about what other people have to say.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it all comes back to us, and it's about how you navigate life internally is how you'll experience it externally. So, for instance, if you allow yourself those same stories within you, you're going to obviously attract those stories on the external world that you're going to buy into, you're going to get attracted to, you're going to attach to. So letting go of all those different complexes is really, really important to do. The other thing I was actually thinking about when you were saying that is around having that, how can you step further into your power, is more around having that self-trust and that self-belief that, years back, I used to basically pay people to believe in me rather than me believe in myself. It was a lot easier.
Yeah.
And I think when you learn through that process that it's better to work on that self-belief and that self-trust, it brings that conviction, and you're not as scared to step into your power. It's a very it's actually easier to be in your own power than what it is not to be and be disempowered, by standing out and being what you stand for.
Yeah, I agree, because it feels so much better.
Hmm.
When it's like putting a puzzle piece in, you've got a puzzle and you're putting a puzzle piece in, you can't find where this puzzle piece goes. That's like you not stepping in your power, because it doesn't feel right. You can't get that piece in that thing. Yeah, I don't know. Picture. That's what I see.
Yeah, picture. Yeah, I know. It's a great picture. It's like
Great.
turning that piece around to try and get it into the overall picture, the big picture. And I think that's actually a really powerful message there as well, as understanding the bigger picture. Stepping into your power is literally having the humility to be in your power, because when you're actually in your power, we're not talking about having power over other people. We're talking about you being in your empowerment. You don't have control over anyone. You're actually empowered. So you don't need to worry about controlling anyone or anything. It's a case of going, okay, this just is what it is for me. And that comes with a lot of humility and grace to be able to step into that power that comes from empowerment, of the power that comes from ego. Because a lot of people get that confused. If you're saying step into your power, it's like, oh, so I've got to beat my chest and do all that sort of stuff and get the old angry man up or whatever. And it's like, no, that's not what I'm actually asking. You're actually giving away your power.
Yeah.
So if you're being triggered by something, usually it's for you to reflect on, to have a look at, because at the end of the day, if you're in reaction mode, you're actually giving away your power. If you're in responsive mode, you're actually owning your power. So that's another way that you could actually discern whether or not you're giving away your power or you're stepping into your power. Am I stepping from a place of reaction, or am I stepping from a place of responsiveness?
Yes.
So,
and I guess the other thing of that is, like stepping into someone else's shoes and seeing it from a different perspective, because we all have our own thoughts and we can all get caught up in what we believe is true, but sometimes we need to put the shoes in someone else, like step into someone else's shoes to see what's that big picture, what's actually going on here.
Yeah, multiple perspectives. I love working from that place.
Yeah, and take responsibility when something's pointed out or that is not true, or that can be taken in a different way.
Yeah, I think that's it's kind of interesting around that particular area too, because I think a lot of people, when they go into stepping into their power, it's kind of like it comes with an agenda, or it comes with an expectation, like when they're actually going to step into their power. When at the end of the day, it's not, there is no agenda when you're literally sitting in that place of authentic power. Is where I believe it is. When we're stepping into our power, it's really in our authentic power.
Yeah, but you're also open to other ideas or open to criticism or ways you can improve. Whereas when before we're talking about being reactive, it's not taking that responsibility. Like, hey, I did something wrong. Whereas someone disempowered would not accept that. They would fight, even if they knew it was wrong. They would fight it because they don't want to be seen as, like, oh, I'm losing my power.
Yeah, credibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Well, that's just a little sum up of today's episode around stepping into your power. We hope that the information, obviously, that we've given you in our conversation gives you a little bit of a thought-provoking moment where you may be able to use your discernment in regards to where it is you may be giving away your power or where you may be stepping into your power. And at the end of the day, the most powerful thing I see in that is acknowledging yourself through the process, because if you don't acknowledge you in which one it is, it's going to be very hard for you to see whether it's good or bad. For instance, like you were saying, Amanda, you'll be able to see how you can improve or where it is that you may have mastered that particular area.
Yeah. So I
So
think we wrote owning it, facing it, and staying true to self.
beautiful. Awesome. Well, it's been great having a conversation with you again this week, and I look forward to seeing you next week on our next episode. And for anyone that wants any further support, by all means, please reach out to Amanda or myself, and we'd love to be able to help you.
Step into your power.
Step into your power. Exactly. As always, be brave and be the change. And Amanda?
Step it up. Step into your power. That's,
Awesome.
That's what we got
See
today.
you guys later.
Bye.